Defense Minister of Venezuela, Vladimir Lopez, announced the overflights of U.S. intelligence aircraft near the region. In Argentina, an investigation has put Karina Milei, the president's sister, in the spotlight of a scandal for allegedly using seized goods that were turned into donations for friendly administrations. And the emergency meeting convened by the Qatari government following the failed but deadly Israeli attack on its territory began in Doha, Qatar. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Lopez announced the flights of U.S. intelligence aircraft near the region, accusing the United States of tripling its intelligence and reconnaissance flights since August. He claimed these operations violate Venezuelan airspace and international flight rules, occurring day and night with increased frequency, including the use of aircraft like the Boeing RC-135, designed for real-time intelligence gathering. Vladimir Lopez warned that these U.S. military activities seek to provoke conflict and justify possible intervention against Venezuela. He emphasized that Venezuela is prepared to respond to any aggression and called for active resistance against what he described as an unjustified military threat from the United States in the Caribbean.
One of the types of aircraft that frequently fly over the Caribbean near the Venezuelan coast is the E-3 Sentry AWACS, an airborne warning and control system. In other words, it is an air command post that controls several aircraft flying at the same time.
Que supone pues el comando de varias aeronaves al mismo tiempo, volando, equipado con radar rotativo.
It is equipped with long-range rotating radar, capable of conducting air and surface surveillance, electronic detection, and command, control, and communications functions.
Y funciones de mando, control y comunicaciones. Ofrece un alcance de hasta 7,000.
It offers a range of up to 7,000 kilometers and a maximum speed of 666 km per hour. These are the types of aircraft we have detected and identified in our flight regions.
Venezuelan Foreign Affairs Minister Ivan Gil asserted that the United States' actions in international waters have created regional instability and should be investigated by international organizations. In an interview, the head of Bolivarian diplomacy said the incident in which Pentagon forces killed 11 people on a boat remains mysterious. Gil noted that the most serious aspect of the situation is that the United States government seems to be defending an illegal act. This is evident in images lacking reliable technical references that are already causing fear among fishermen and sailors in the region. And on Sunday, Russia expressed its support for Venezuela after condemning the assault by U.S. Marines on a fishing boat, considering it a violation of the country's sovereignty. The Russian ambassador in Caracas, Sergei Melik-Bagdasarov, warned that these operations directed against the Bolivarian nation put peace and regional stability at risk. The Russian diplomat confirmed on behalf of his government the Caribbean should be a region of peace, cooperation and good fellowship. The ambassador assured that Russia supports Venezuela's sovereign right to manage its own resources and to guarantee the security of its territory, and reaffirmed that the only path to lasting stability is respect for international law and an end to external interference. And Chinese Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesman Li Jian condemned Monday the recent U.S. military actions close to Venezuela. Li Jian assured that such actions weaken regional peace and stability. The spokesman called on the U.S. government to stop interfering in the internal affairs of Venezuela and respect its sovereignty. Li stressed the importance of dialogue and cooperation instead of military confrontation. China joined several other regional leaders who also condemned the U.S. military operation, which has not been sanctioned by the U.S. Congress. And U.S. President Donald Trump demands that European countries strengthen sanctions against Russia and an end to the purchase of oil as part of efforts to reach a solution to the Ukrainian conflict. During a press conference in New Jersey, the U.S. President emphasized his willingness to impose additional sanctions on Russia if North Atlantic Treaty Organization allies adopt similar measures. This message was reiterated in a letter sent to NATO members in which Trump warned that he would not impose new sanctions as long as some countries continue to import Russian crude oil. The situation is further complicated by nations such as Hungary and Slovakia, which do not agree that imposing sanctions is an effective measure to resolve the conflict. And on Monday, China responded to the coercive actions of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization by warning them that its economic, commercial, and energy cooperation with all countries, including Russia, is justified, legitimate, and beyond reproach. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Li Jian reiterated that China opposes the use of illegal unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction, which are often employed by Western countries at the behest of Washington. Li emphasized that China has maintained an objective and impartial position in the Ukrainian conflict, promoting peace and dialogue as the only way forward. Therefore, China rejects the U.S. intimidation tactics and those of the countries that obey it. We now have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Monday morning, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro visited the Urbaneja Archiopol Educational Center to mark the start of the 2025-2026 school year. The head of state, along with the Minister of Education, Héctor Rodríguez, the first combatant, Celia Flores, the teaching staff of the center, and the students, walked through the renovated spaces of the institution, including the children's park, preschool classrooms, auditoriums, medical clinics, dining hall, laboratories, sports fields, theaters, among others. In preparation for the start of the new school year, more than 1,400 educational institutions were renovated nationwide, where thanks to the 100% schooling plan, thousands of children and young people outside the education system were able to return to the classroom. And in Argentina, an investigation has put Karina Milei, the president's sister, in the spotlight of a scandal for allegedly using seized goods that were turned into donations for friendly administrations. The investigation released this Sunday by a national media outlet states that Karina Milei, Secretary General of the Presidency of Argentina, allegedly used leftover customs seizures to favor regional governments, friendly non-governmental organizations, and members of Libertad Avanza movement. The distribution of these items, which range from cars to clothing and perishable food, is nothing new and has always been done. However, this time there are two key differences. The first is that President Milei had promised to put an end to these practices, and the second, and more important, is that these donations ended up in the hands of friends or allies of Secretary Milei. Also in Argentina, the workers at Garrahan Hospital continue their struggle against the policies of President Javier Milei's vetoes of laws that aim to defund education and public health. Our colleague Fabian Restivo with the details.
The physicians at Garrahan Hospital continue their struggle. Once again, President Javier Milei has vetoed their budget, and they must continue the fight. But the professionals, together with patients and family members, have decided on another form of resistance, a party.
We are celebrating that the hospital is still standing and that all the people who organized this festival are workers who are dedicated to healthcare, and today we want to celebrate ourselves.
The space was designed for children to share and continue explaining and entertaining.
Because I support Garrahan with all my heart. It touches me very closely. My niece was hospitalized there and they saved her life. I went several times to perform at Garrahan at the kindergarten. I believe we have to support them with what we have with our tools. In my case, as a clone. Those who can do something else, and so together we put our hearts into this, because what is happening is truly terrible.
The question that needs to be asked is basic and urgent, what they expect from Wednesday's march.
We expect a massive mobilization. We believe that there will be a huge response from society because they support the demand we are making and this time. We are also joining forces with the public university, which is another sector affected by the president policies, so we believe it will be a historic day, where it will be demonstrated that the vetoed party is the government, not Garahan, not the university, and not public health.
Among those present, there are some who have other reasons of their own.
I am here primarily because Garahan was everything to me. My son was ill and hospitalized in 1994. We transferred him from a private clinic to Garahan. He was born in the capital, but due to medical malpractice, he ended up at Garahan, thank God. At Garahan, they did everything possible and impossible to save him. He was in intensive care for 7 months. He had a strong will to live. They didn't move him from the neonatal unit to pediatrics, and for the doctors it was encouraging to have someone who wanted to live beyond his diagnosis, which was terrible. I think that's something strong enough to always be present for everyone.
So, what are the Garahan professionals asking for? What do the Garahan professionals want?
We want to continue celebrating public health, continue celebrating our profession. We enjoy being involved in our work, being in the hospital, with the children we work with. I don't know if it's something we enjoy, being out on the streets fighting, but it makes us very proud. I mean, one thing doesn't contradict the other.
Desde Buenos Aires para teleSUR, Fabián Restivo.
Honduran President Xiomara Castro ordered political parties to refrain from placing propaganda messages in the Chelato Ucles National Stadium. Regarding the display of a banner referencing candidate Rizzi Moncada, the president emphasized that the National Stadium should be a venue for civic celebrations, not political activities. She stressed the importance of national unity during this significant time for the country. President Castro insisted on fair play and democratic confrontation during the election campaign. This measure indicates that no executive privileges are dedicated to any political organization. Chicago celebrated Mexican Independence Day with dances, parade, and banners as part of Hispanic Heritage Month. The festival's main objective was to promote Latin roots and emphasize their influence in the history of the United States. The main rallies took place in Lido Village, a Mexican-U.S. neighborhood on Chicago's southwest side. The year's festivity is motivated by the massive wave of deportations by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Trump cabinet's anti-immigrant policies, and the increase of police repression against all Latin communities in the U.S. We now have our second break coming up. Remember, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Have a fun short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. On Monday, the emergency meeting convened by the Qatari government following the failed but deadly Israeli attack on its territory began in Doha, Qatar. Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Ahmad Al Thani opened the summit and pronounced against the attack, describing it as a cowardly aggression and a violation of international law. In this context, the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sulani proposed a NATO-style collective security response to attacks on any Arab or Islamic country, in which an attack on one is treated as an aggression against all. In addition to these arguments, Jordan's King Abdullah II stated that the attack on Doha was living proof that the threat of Israel was without limits, and added that the summit must produce practical decisions to confront Israel's actions, end the war in Gaza, and prevent the further displacement of Palestinians. During the meeting, the Emir of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, rejected Israeli hostilities towards attempts at negotiations for a ceasefire in Gaza.
A state that is party to the negotiations and yet aggresses the venue where the negotiations take place. If Israel wishes to assassinate the Hamas leaders, why then engage into negotiations? If you wish to insist on the liberation of hostages, why then do they assassinate all negotiators? How can we host in our country negotiating delegations from Israel, whereas they sent drones and planes for an air raid against our country? There is no need for questions. This is just a cowardly aggression. The second reality that comes to the surface is that those who work consistently to assassinate the party that is in negotiation will certainly do everything to ensure the failure of negotiations. When they claim that they seek the liberation of hostages, is a mere lie.
For his part, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian condemned the impunity of Israeli attacks in the region and called for unity against its threats and aggressions.
The airstrike perpetrated by Israel against Qatar the week last constitutes an utter violation of the international law, and we must seek means to stand up to these assaults. This act of belligerence was not the spur of the moment. It is the consequence of the provocative policies of the Israeli occupation forces and the impunity they have been enjoying as they continue to go unpenalized for their crimes. By their acts, they have crossed all red lines. All the Arab and Muslim states are required to stand united, standing up to this belligerent Zionist entity.
On Sunday, the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas condemned the visit of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to the Western Wall in Jerusalem. In a statement, Hamas described the visit as a flagrant attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque and a provocation to Muslims. They also pointed out that the prayer area known as Al-Burak is an integral part of the mosque and must remain purely Islamic despite the occupation's attempts to transform it. During his tour, the U.S. Secretary of State was accompanied by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Together, they participated in prayer and toured the tunnels near the sacred site. The Iranian government will propose a resolution to the International Atomic Energy Agency demanding a global ban on military attacks against nuclear installations. The proposal will be presented by the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Mohammad Eslami, at the organization's General Conference currently underway in Vienna, Austria. Let's recall that after the Israeli aggression in June, the Iranian parliament unanimously passed a law effectively barring IAEA inspectors from visiting the country's nuclear sites. In this context, Eslami argued the conference serves as an opportunity to directly confront the double standards of other nations, adding that even if the resolution fails to pass, its rejection would demonstrate a fundamental violation of the United Nations Charter. And the final stage of the tour of Spain was cancelled due to the large mobilization in defense of the Palestinian cause and in rejection of the Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip. The events of this Sunday were marked by protesters in the city of Madrid, who were repressed by police authorities with tear gas while demanding an end to the Zionist aggression against the coastal enclave. Shortly before, the organizers of the cycling tour tried to change their route to avoid the protesters. However, the cyclists were forced to stop due to the presence of demonstrators. From various points in the city, Palestinian banners and flags showed the solidarity of the Spanish people with the Palestinian people. And Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez reiterated his deep admiration for pro-Palestinian protesters who forced the final stage of the Tour of Spain cycling race to be cancelled over the weekend.
We feel, as I said yesterday, deep admiration and respect for our athletes, for the cyclists of the Vuelta a España. That is why we have put their safety ahead of any other issue. But we also feel immense respect and deep admiration for Spanish civil society, which is mobilizing against injustice and defending its ideas peacefully. And I believe that the debate that has opened up here about what happened yesterday in Madrid, in Spain, should grow and reach every corner of the world.
Debería crecer y llegar a todos los rincones del mundo.
And in the United States, during the 77th edition of the Emmy Awards, which honor the country's television industry, actors showed their solidarity with the Palestinian cause and their rejection of Donald Trump's policies. Spanish actor Javier Bardem, nominated in the category of Best Actor in a Miniseries or TV Movie, arrived at the event wearing a kufiya or Palestinian scarf. In addition, Bardem said in an interview that he refuses to work with any entertainment company that justifies or supports the genocide of the Palestinian people. For her part, actress Hannah Einbender, upon receiving the award for Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, ended her acceptance speech with the slogan, "Free Palestine." These events revealed the rejection of Israeli genocide and the xenophobic policies of the White House and the U.S. artistic world. And in Sudan, the General Coordination for Displaced Persons and Refugees in Darfur region reported an increase in cholera victims following 25 deaths in the last 48 hours. The spokesperson for the organization, Adam Riyal, pointed out that the number has been rising as a result of forced displacement caused by confrontations between the army and rapid support forces. Riyal added that in the last 3 months, the figure rose to more than 11,700 cases, resulting in at least 454 deaths following the cholera outbreak. Authorities reported that the shortage of medical supplies and services in health centers is aggravating the situation. For its part, the World Health Organization said that the outbreak has spread to 18 states in the African country. At this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.
En el corazón de cada país